Hello, my friends. Lizzy from the Burgess-Shadbush Nature Center here today, and I'm excited to read a book with you. Are you ready? We're going to read The Dark, Dark Night by Christina Butler. Frog was very excited. All winter he had been asleep under a stone, and now that it was spring, he was on his way back to his pond. On the way, he bumped into Badger and Hedgehog. Then he played leapfrog with Rabbit and Mouse. Suddenly, he saw that it was getting dark, so he borrowed a lantern from Mouse, and off he went through the woods back to his pond. Woo, woo, the wind blew in the trees. Squeak, squeak, went the lantern as it swung side to side, and the dark was all around. When Frog reached his home, he put the lantern down behind him and was just about to jump in the water when he saw... What do you think? A huge black pond monster with enormous claws coming out of the reeds. Oh no! Frog grabbed the lantern and hopped as fast as he could back through the woods. There's a huge monster in the pond, he cried. Are you sure? Laughed Hedgehog. Frog nodded, trembling. All right, said Hedgehog calmly. We'll have a look together. And I'll come too, said Mouse. Off they went through the woods. Hoo, hoo, the wind blew in the trees. Squeak, squeak, went the lanterns. Wait for me, cried Mouse, and the dark was all around. Soon Hedgehog and Frog reached the pond. Now, said Hedgehog, where's this monster? There it is, cried Frog. It was bigger than before, with enormous claws and terrible spikes down its back. Run, run, cried Hedgehog. Pond monster, pond monster. What's all this, chuckled Rabbit. A monster? There's no such thing as a monster. Come and see for yourself, said Hedgehog, shivering. All right, said Rabbit, I will. I'll never swim in my pond again, said Frog, as they set off through the woods. Hoo, hoo, blew the wind in the trees. Squeak, squeak, went the lanterns. Wait for me, cried Mouse, and the dark was all around. It wasn't long before they were back at the pond. Rabbit, Hedgehog, and Frog tiptoed to the water. There it was again, the big pond monster, and it was bigger than ever. It had enormous claws, terrible spikes down its back, 2 big horns, and wildly waving arms. Uh-oh. Run for your life, yelled Rabbit, racing back through the woods with Hedgehog and Frog close behind. What's going on? Asked Badger. So they told him all about it. Come along, Badger said. I'd like to see this monster of yours. And off they went once more. Hoo, hoo, howled the wind. Squeak, squeak, went the lanterns. Wait for me, cried Mouse, and the dark was all around. As they reached the pond, a huge gust of wind came through the trees and blew out all of the lanterns. I can't see a monster, said Badger at last. That's because it's too dark, whispered Frog. And there they all stood, waiting in the moonlight for something to happen. Just then, Mouse caught up with the others at last. Yoo-hoo, she shouted, waving from the bank. Badger, Rabbit, Hedgehog, and Frog looked at Mouse, and then they looked at the small black shape waving from the reeds. Look at that, said Hedgehog. That's not a pond monster, said Rabbit. That's Mouse's shadow, said Frog. I can't believe it, said Badger. You are running from your shadows every time. The 4 friends laughed and laughed and laughed. Hooray, cried Frog. There's no monster after all. And with a huge happy splash, he leapt into his lovely pond at last.